When Akai released MPC Sample, it took over the internet in a massive way, and sure enough, it was sold out immediately. But as the hype is now settling, is this thing really that good, or is it just overhyped? I'll give you my opinion in the conclusion of the video, but the answer really depends on who you ask. The MPC platform has become a DAW in a box, and there were so many people who always wanted a straightforward, limited MPC that goes back to its sampling roots without all the complexity of the modern MPCs. And a lot of people also wanted a really small, portable MPC, something like an SP404, but with an MPC brain. So this device here is meant to cater to both of these groups, as well as beginners who just want to dip their toes into making beats and sampling. And let's face it, MPC collectors as well. There are a lot of people who would just buy anything Akai release, even if they already have other MPCs. And others, they just don't see the point when you could buy an MPC One or another more capable Groovebox second-hand for the same price of an MPC Sample and have a device that's on a whole another level of power and features. Why limit yourself when you can have it all in one box? And honestly, I understand both of these groups and they both have good arguments. But regardless, looking at what the sampler market offers, MPC Sample just makes sense. It was a good move by Akai, and bear in mind, I'm not from the MPC gang. I've used an MPC 1000 many years ago and also an MPC One. I actually still have it, but I don't really use it much. But I've mostly used Machine and Ableton Push, Ableton Move, and I'm also not a DAW-less producer. I like working in Ableton Live. I'm just mentioning this so you know where I'm coming from as I share my subjective opinion in this video. Oh, and it's also worth mentioning that I bought this at full price like everyone else, so this wasn't sent to me for free. I also have an SP404 Mark II, which is probably the device this one was meant to compete with. And let me just get this out of the way. When it comes to these limited pure samplers, I definitely prefer MPC Sample compared to the 404 Mark II for making beats. 404 is great for performing beat sets and using it as an effect box, but in terms of workflow for beat making, this thing wins for me. So when you see it in person, MPC Sample is in fact smaller than it looks on pictures and videos, but somehow still quite comfortable to use. Unless you have bad eyesight, because the text on the display is a bit too small, but other than that, I have no complaints. The build is, well, all plastic, but it's sturdy. It doesn't feel premium. You can feel that costs have been cut in some places, but not in a way that makes it feel flimsy or bad to use. So I would say the build quality is good. Also, the pads feel good. They are nice and soft and have good sensitivity. And honestly, I'm not sure what the point of the armrest is, except for evoking that MPC 60 nostalgia. However, the tilted screen, that's also reminiscent of the MPC 60, is very useful. I often get neck pain after hunching over Grooveboxes for long periods of time, and I found that using MPC Sample was more comfortable than other devices where the screen is completely flat. The I/O in the back is pretty generous for a compact sampler, and it has a built-in battery that lasts for pretty long. The built-in speakers sound good for the size. I honestly don't care for it too much, but it seems these devices that accommodate more casual use all come with built-in speakers these days, as well as mics. This also has a built-in mic. And when I say casual use, that's not to say that you can't do serious music with it. I mean, what's serious music anyway? I don't really like it when people take everything so seriously and are dismissive about devices like this one by calling them toys. I mean, you could say all the gear we use are toys anyway, so it's not a bad thing. MPC Sample is quite an immediate device, and the small size and battery power makes it easy to just pick up and start making beats. And the overall workflow is quick and straightforward without much menu diving, so pretty good for an MPC, but this is mostly because it's a relatively simple device. There are Grooveboxes and samplers that are equally as fast or even faster and easier to use that are more capable. And it obviously excels at sampling and chopping. Getting samples in is easy, either recording them directly through the audio in on the back or loading them into the SD card, which also appears as a drive when you connect it to your computer with the USB-C port. But speaking about USB-C, connecting your phone to it and sampling from it is the way to go for a lot of people. And this also means that it's an audio interface, although no ACO driver for Windows, so unlike on a Mac, it wouldn't be ideal for your main audio interface to use in a DAW if you are a PC user. After you record your sample, trimming, slicing, it's very easy, and you don't need to convert the sample chops to separate pads. Just enter chop mode and you're already chopping in pretty much every way you want for up to 16 slices and ready to record your sample chops. So I really like that you have a separate filter, and it's a multi-mode filter actually, for each pad. It's a must-have feature that the SP404 Mark II doesn't have. I don't think you should have to use up effects and resample just to get a basic filter on your sounds, and you can automate the filter and other parameters as well. And you also have plenty of effects which work across all sounds you have going on in the project, and these are mostly meant as performance effects, and you also have the knob effects. And with the knob effects you can assign them to all pads or only to certain pads that you select if you want. And there is only one instance of each effect though, so to use them with different settings on different sounds you have to resample, which MPC Sample does really well. Resampling is an offline process, you don't have to record it in real time, so whatever you have recorded in the sequence can instantly be bounced with all the processing to free up effects or for creative purposes. And you also have flex beat on the master channel for these flashy, performance-oriented effects. Don't get me wrong, I like performance effects. I'm a fan of the SP404's DJ effects looper, but there's already a beat repeat effect in the pad effects. What about the sequencer though? MPCs are known for their sequencers, and MPC Sample doesn't disappoint. Although it does lag a bit in two areas. For example, editing your sequences is not at all user-friendly, you have to use this step edit, and I guess the limited UI doesn't allow for a better option, so I can understand why they went with this. I would say it's not a deal breaker for me. It's fine. If I make a mistake, I would just delete it and try again. And the second area is quantization. You only have 100% quantized and completely unquantized. So there's no quantized strength. Again, for me personally, not a deal breaker. I rarely use quantization anyway, but it may be a problem if you want to tighten up your performances while still retaining some of your natural groove. So everything is essentially just one track, which is honestly to be expected for such a device. I don't really have a problem with that, but I wouldn't say it's the same as each pad being its own track as some people claim. I mean, you can look at it that way, but it's a stretch and not the same at all. And by that logic, something like Ableton Move has 64 tracks, so I don't know. Because everything is on the same track, sequencing external gear combined with the samples you're playing from inside the MPC doesn't really work well. Other notable features are the audio and MIDI recall, so essentially it's always recording in the background and you can recall things you didn't record, but the MIDI recall is nowhere near as good as Ableton's capture. whole workflow is relatively fast and intuitive for an MPC, and I welcome the lack of touchscreen and the use of soft buttons and encoders below the screen, similar to Machine and Ableton Push. Oh wait, did I say encoders? Actually, these are regular pots, which isn't ideal for controlling parameters that always change depending on which screen you're on. You can choose the takeover mode in the settings, but these should really have been encoders. Also, you can't plug in a MIDI keyboard and play a sample chromatically. The USB-C port isn't a USB host port, so you have to connect the keyboard via the MIDI in, and you won't be able to play a single sample chromatically, as each key will trigger the pad that corresponds to that MIDI note. So you don't have key groups, you only have 16 levels tuning for playing a sample chromatically with the pads. And for me, being able to play and record with keys is important. I've shown how I do it by pairing MPC Sample with other devices, and I will link these videos in the description down below. So this device may not quite be the best fit for me personally, as I do sample, but I add a lot of my own parts around the sample as well. Also, at the time I'm making this video, there is no stem export. There are a couple of workarounds to transfer your material to finish in a DAW, like the old-fashioned tracking of each part one by one, or resampling parts so they get bounced as audio files on the SD card and then you can load them in the DAW, or using the song export option to export them one by one and again load the file in the DAW. Or you can load them in your big MPC to continue working or export stems from there, or in the MPC desktop software. However, a license for the software isn't included and people generally don't seem to like it that much, and the fact that it's been in beta for ages now doesn't make it seem like it's a priority for Akai, as Akai is all about the standalone experience. So whether you will like this thing or not really is all about your expectations, and this brings me to my final answer to the question: is it really good or overhyped? And would I recommend it? I actually lean towards good. I think the hype is mostly justified. Yes, it doesn't bring anything new and revolutionary to the table, but it doesn't have to. It's up to you to be innovative and creative with your ideas. You can't rely on companies to innovate all the time for you to use new features as a crutch. And really useful and meaningful innovations happen rarely in a mature space like music tech. MPC Sample just gives people what they wanted. It's accessible, convenient, and if you are into fiddling with gadgets like this, you'll probably find it fun. However, I'm not sure if complete beginners that have no skills to play well in real time would be served well by this, especially if they want to actually learn music production. As a beginner, I would lean more towards something that would let me get good results without relying on me being able to play well in real time, and then maybe get something like this after I develop those skills. Also, I'd prefer something that gives me better visual feedback so I can better see what's going on, which would help me learn and also edit my mistakes. Something like a mobile app like maybe Koala, Ableton Note, or an entry-level DAW like Ableton Live Intro. Also, as I always say about these devices, not just about MPC Sample. These are all just luxury items, not because it's super expensive, but in the sense that you don't really need them to make music. And you also have to ask yourself, do you really have a mobile lifestyle that would make this a valuable purchase? But overall, I like MPC Sample. It's cool, it's fun to use, and I can totally recommend it if you are looking for a pure sampler and are trying to decide between getting it or the SP404 Mark II or even the Teenage Engineering KO2. However, if you want something more capable and even easier to use for not much more money, regular viewers probably know what I would recommend, and I will do a comparison video with that device and place it here when I publish it, or you can watch me make a beat from vinyl records on MPC Sample here. Catch you later!